it remembers the context. That is pretty cool. This is brilliant. Okay, what's going on here? I think I've killed ChatGPT. What else is missing in the ChatGPT? So it took 3 attempts to get to the actual answer. ChatGPT. Everyone's using ChatGPT to solve developer problems like creating code that is beautiful, creating websites that is beautiful, also finding bugs and vulnerabilities in cloud. And if you have been following the news, it has also passed an Amazon interview and could be a potential Amazon employee. Now that's food for thought. But in this video, we'll talk about how if you are a new cloud security engineer or a cloud engineer, or you are a professional cloud engineer, how you can 10x your productivity and learn AWS cloud skills. Now, if you have been waiting for a sign or a video for you to start learning AWS from a cloud perspective, from a cloud security perspective, or for you to just start using AI so you don't have to Google entire internet for finding out how to do basic cloud skills, then this is a video for you so that you can 10x your productivity, apply the right security practices, and also at the same time follow the right way to have a cost optimized AWS account. All right, let's 10x your AWS cloud skill in this video. The first thing you would want to do is log into ChatGPT, which is a free account. I would leave a link in the description, and also the AWS free tier account, which you can sign up for using the AWS console login page, which I would leave a link for in the comment as well. Now logged in over here, we have a ChatGPT window open, but because we are hackers, aka engineers, we're definitely gonna have the dark mode on. So both you and I feel pretty cool. I've also got the Amazon console window open as well, which is a brand new account. I don't have anyone. So North region and my Cloud Security Podcast account. Now, since we have a basic setup done to build our skills for AWS, let's start with the first activity. We're just gonna walk through a few simple examples of day-to-day activities that cloud engineers or cloud security engineers do and explain what they're doing and use ChatGPT to create automation as well. So let's start with the first thing. The very first thing you probably would do when you sign up for an AWS account is to make sure you have something called an AWS IAM user. So I'm just gonna type in over here, how do I create an AWS IAM user? Wow, that's pretty quick and also very good responses as well. But what if you wanna just do an automation? Can you tell me the AWS CLI command for this? Let's see if it remembers the context. Oh, it remembers the context. That is pretty cool. It remembers the context of creating an IAM user as well. I can literally copy the code for AWS CLI and replace username. Oh, if you haven't noticed my excitement as it keeps coming up. So these are pretty cool. So if depending on how amazing you are, you may have been a cloud security engineer or a cloud engineer who just starting the journey today. You could follow these steps over here, or you may be an expert and you just want to up your game by doing AWS CLI. You can probably do this over here as well. Using those copy command, you can copy the code entirely. But because it has given us instructions, I'm going to pretend you are starting the journey today. So let's see. All right, I'm going to go to, what did it say? It said log into IAM services. And if you're using, this is the Amazon console for people who have not logged in before. I can already see IAM over here, but just so that you can have a build a practice for how to use it, I'm just going to type in IAM onto the search and voila. You have IAM. Okay, so we are on the console and I'm just going to go to users. You can see already I've got 2 accounts over here, but I'm going to create add user. And because ChatGPT, I'm just going to call it ChatGPT, enable access optional. I don't really want it to give you a console access at the moment, so I'm just going to leave it here. Add user, any permission, add user to a group. Nope, I don't want to add it to any group at the moment. And I'm going to add a tag, user. Cool. All right, so I've got my user ready. Voila, I've got a user ready as well. So I just literally followed what it basically said over here. Login and console access for custom password. Actually, I didn't do that. So let me just add that in. All right, so now we have an IAM user, which I haven't given a password to because even though it did ask me to put a password, I would like to have MFA because I'm a security person. I think it's always a great idea to have an IAM user with MFA. So how do I add MFA to my AWS IAM user? Oh, there you go. IAM services, MFA, blah, blah, blah. Scroll to multi-factor authentication. Virtual devices as well. That is pretty cool. By the way, just for sake of completeness, you can also use a hardware MFA, but it usually works out easier. And it has also given me a CLI command. That is pretty cool. So it understands that I need a CLI command. So it's gone through that process as well, telling me both things to do. Wow, it is really taking its time. Right, wow, it popped the results. It's shown me CLI commands as well that I can use to create an MFA. So I've got security credentials, and as you can see, I've hidden my ARN information and my console information because I'm a bit mindful of showing you guys what my account is called for the moment, because this is also my production account. The first thing as per ChatGPT is to assign MFA device. I'm just gonna call it ChatGPT, if I can type it correctly, MFA. That's my device, because you can have multiple devices. I just want it to be an authenticator app. Next, and it's going to show me, okay, so sweet. So QR code, I can just put that in. I'm not going to show you the QR code for this over here, but you know how to go about doing an MFA user. All right, so now so far we have created an IAM user, because that's what the best practice is called. We've also assigned it a MFA, double crate. Now, because you're trying to create a real life scenario of creating AWS accounts, you probably want to start off by having some basic foundational best practices implemented as well. So I can tell you what the best practices for an AWS account are, but let's just ask ChatGPT, what are the best practices for setting up AWS accounts? All right, it's given me 15 practices that I can follow. Now, I'm not gonna do all 15 of them over here, but I'm gonna already call out the ones that we've already done. Like for example, we've already enabled MFA, we already have separate IAM user. For the rest of the video, maybe let's just try and enable a few more things over here. So let's enable CloudTrail, let's enable GuardDuty, and then what we might do is we might actually deploy an EC2 instance, which is the virtual machine in an AWS context. Next step, let's enable CloudTrail. So we ask the question to ChatGPT, how do I enable CloudTrail in AWS? That was really quick. So CloudTrail enable, go in, clear the trail, apply to all regions. This is absolutely necessary. Definitely do it for all regions in the AWS account you're working with. Also have an appropriate S3 bucket, which is this is where your CloudTrail would be stored for everything basically that's being done. For people who don't know what CloudTrail is the audit service for an AWS account, and it requires an AWS S3 bucket or a storage service from AWS called S3 bucket to store all the audit logs, and that's where this is going to be handy. Now again, as is mentioned over here, you can have SNS notification turned on. Some people also don't have log file validation, but you can choose to have it, and amazingly it also has given me a CLI command. Now as you can see, as we're going through this, we obviously are building up a script as well. So, and I'm gonna bring all of it together in one go towards the end. So now we're back on the AWS console. Let's try and create some CloudTrail. All right, CloudTrail. Now, as you can see, I already had a CloudTrail enabled, and you can see me creating virtual MFA accounts for my ChatGPT account. But if you were to do this, just create a trail. All right, so I've clicked on create trail. I've got ChatGPT. If I can type in correctly again, there should be a counter going over here for how many times I have mistyped this information. ChatGPT 1, trail, ChatGPT trail, and enable for all accounts in my organization. You definitely want to do that. And you also want to enable it for all region. You need to have file validation turned on because it was called out. I don't need to have a new KMS encryption. It can create a new bucket, and that would be it. Yeah, so all right, let's just go next. KMS alias ChatGPT. Let's just do that. Now this is where it becomes interesting. ChatGPT as of today only has data up to December 2021. Now the information you're seeing on the screen at the moment is current for 2023 at January month. So anything after this, the screen might change. I would have to update this video. ChatGPT would have to update this information. But if you're watching this in January 2023, this is what you would see on the screen, which obviously ChatGPT is not aware of, that there's so many more options that you can do. You can even include data events, insight events. So now this is kind of where you would have to make a judgment call for what you think is the best practice. And we're going to sum it up in the end as well. Now for the moment, I'm going to set up the CloudTrail account and we'll go into this. All right, so I want data events as well. So I've got the source as S3. I want to log all events. I only want the API call rate because I want to know how often an API call is being made, if the volume is too much, and write only. All right, so I've got everything configured. I just want to make sure I have tags as well. So I'm going to edit the tag ChatGPT AI bot. All right, so I've set up everything up and I've given a tag as well, and I'm going to create the trail. Cool.
Nice.
Now we have Create an IAM user, MFA, and we also have the CloudTrail, because as per the best practice from ChatGPT, we should have CloudTrail enabled. Now, another good practice to have if you are on AWS console for the first time is to enable GuardDuty. Now, this is your threat detection kind of service, but now I would not know how to use the GuardDuty, right? So I'm going to ask ChatGPT for it. How do I enable GuardDuty in AWS? I love this, it's just so quick. And instead of me trying to go on Google and trying to search for this documentation and finding the right command for it, it's already done that for me. Now, since you have the GuardDuty commands, you can use either copy code or you can just follow the console, so I can show you visually what that looks like. So I'm gonna back over here, I'm gonna go GuardDuty, yep, GuardDuty, once it comes up, sweet. And get started for free, for sure, 30-day trial. I just need to click on enable, as pretty much what was called out over here, that go to GuardDuty service, create a detector and review settings, and just enable it. So just click on enable and we have it enabled. All right, so far we have spoken about how to create an IAM user, already upping the game. If you're starting on your first day for AWS, you already know how to create an IAM user, you already know how to add a MFA, and you also know the best practice of enabling CloudTrail for all regions and all accounts, and also for enabling GuardDuty, you know. Now, another thing I want to call out is some of these things will definitely cost you money.
Shut up and take my money.
So just be wary if you are thinking about enabling it. The first 30 days of GuardDuty are free, but after that they would start charging for it if you have a lot of activity in your account. So I would probably just keep that cost in mind as well if you're trying to go down this path. Now it's time to start building applications. I'm gonna just ask ChatGPT to build me a simple web application with an EC2 instance, which is the same as a virtual machine, which is private but has a public URL. And because I'm feeling a bit homesick, I want it to be created in the recently created Melbourne region as well. I'm curious if it knows about the Melbourne region, which has been launched as of January 2023. So let's see. How do I create, actually let's say, show me the cloud, or write me, right? As I'm going through this, you probably know this, that it's basically AI requires you to keep prompting it for the right thing. So the reason I'm rewriting this is like, oh, what is it expecting me to do? And the best part is because it remembers all the context from the top, so it's gonna keep going for this. Like, show me how to create an AWS EC2 instance in a private subnet with an internet facing elastic load balancer using CloudFormation. Okay, so it has generated something. I have to hit continue to basically make it finish the entire thing, but from what I can see, it has written a good CloudFormation template so far, which is in YAML. I can see that's my VPC, subnet, internet gateway for me to have internet access, route table. This is looking pretty good, apart from the fact where it basically just died on me over there. So I had to just ask you to continue. So you know, the real skill of this is to actually try this in an actual AWS account. So I'm going to copy this code, go to AWS and go CloudFormation. CloudFormation is a IAC or infrastructure as code that you can use to create a stack and use a template, blah, blah, blah. I'm just not template is ready, upload template file. All right, sorry, I need to get my dog out. Oh, wait. Okay, so now we are at AWS CloudFormation. I have copied all of this into a YAML file so we can start playing around and just to see if it actually works. I'm gonna upload. All right, so now we have the YAML beautiful file. So I'm gonna go next. Let's see, it does not have a well-known 95. What is going on 95? No! Okay, so clearly there was a formatting mistake because as you can notice, that it had to break itself. So, all right, so I've got two options. Either I can just re-edit the YAML, or I can simply ask ChatGPT to give me a shorter version of this. So show me a CloudFormation template for a private EC2 instance running behind a public-facing ELB. All right, let's see what it does. For some reason, this time it's done a really good job of having the entire thing. And if you notice a few things over here, which probably I would not call as the best practice, but we'll see. We have a security group assigned to our EC2 instance. Even though it's in a private subnet, it has got port 2022 open to everything. Now, this is technically a private subnet, so this should be okay. So I think this is just good practice because it's not really open to the internet. The elastic load balancer is open to the internet, so port 80 And you probably want to have another security group. How does it associate with the ingress? Oh, this is how it does it. Okay, association, load balancer is associated. This is brilliant. And it has a public DNS as well. All right, so attempt number 2, I'm gonna cross this out because this is a new version, which looks like probably a better version. I'm gonna go next. Every output member must be in object.
Are you kidding me?
But let's just ask ChatGPT. Instead of me trying to Google it, because this is a ChatGPT video, let's actually ask it. What is the syntax for DNS output for public DNS for ELB in a CloudFormation, I guess? Okay, what's going on here? I think I've killed ChatGPT. So the ChatGPT died on me, and the CloudFormation template it gave me, it does not work. What is working over here? Does it even work? What is ChatGPT? So I just refreshed the screen and all of it seemed to have come back, but I'm gonna try and ask it to do it again and see if I kill ChatGPT one more time. So the third attempt to write a Python Lambda function to create the exact same scenario worked. For some reason the first 2 failed, but hey, here we are, and I can see this time it has the return ELB DNS name as well, so this is definitely gonna work. Now, you can definitely validate this for me if this is the right code for it, but I think it looks pretty alright because it has AMI, create the EC2 instance. What I love about this is that it even has comments for you to know exactly what it's doing. But one thing to notice over here, it did instance an ELB in this most recent successful attempt, but in the previous one, it just went on and on. Like, I don't know what it was trying to create with EC2. Like, almost like it became smarter the 3rd or 4th time I tried creating it.
No, I'm just getting warmed up.
AI is trying to learn, and no one has asked this question from the AI so far, so maybe that's why I broke it, but here we are at the first attempt. Going back to the security best practice we called out, so far, if I do a quick recap, we have created IAM user, we have added MFA, we have enabled CloudTrail, we've enabled GuardDuty, we asked a question to this chatbot thingy bob. That's what I'm gonna call ChatGPT, chatbot thingy bob. We asked questions around how do I write a CloudFormation template for an EC2 instance which is private at the same time with a public ELB. We asked the same question to be done in Terraform. We asked the same question to be done in a Lambda function, which failed on us twice. Well, actually, technically, CloudFormation template in Terraform failed as well because before the output could be generated, it would just basically die on us or would just basically stop. Actually, maybe a worthwhile question. Does AWS have a region in Melbourne, Australia? I'm not sure whether AWS region had a Melbourne 2 region because AP Southeast 2 was always supposed to be Sydney. So if you go onto the Amazon website now, and if I search for Melbourne, oh, there it is. So as you can see, Melbourne is AP Southeast 4 and AP Southeast 2 is Sydney. So, oops, AP Southeast 2 is Sydney. So I'm not sure why it's thought that Melbourne, Australia was still AP Southeast 2, but this is obviously understandable because the information that AP Southeast 4 only came into existence in January 2023, which a AI bot from 2021 would not know of, but good attempt. So this brings me to what are some of the challenges that we have learned so much from ChatGPT. We can definitely 10x our skills. We can create security best practices as well, but what are some of the things you should look out for? Something I'll call out, which is obvious. It basically broke down on me while I was using it, so there would be definitely challenges in the usability of it. But as you saw in my last attempt of creating an AWS Lambda function to do the same thing, it does learn, it does get better. Whether you have the patience for it, I would let you be the judge of it, but I was really wanted to make this video, so I was definitely motivated. Otherwise, I would have just gone on the internet. So I just asked the question, what data you trained in? The summary of it is basically, it doesn't have anything after 2021. If you're looking for more information, which is more current in 2022 or maybe 2023 or maybe even beyond, and unless this is updated, you probably would not have that information. So as of January 2023, we are still working with 2021 data, but irrespective, this is still pretty awesome that I was able to just spend less than an hour and I was still able to just create all these things just by not Googling the internet for hours, instead just having the answers straight away. Because If you haven't done this before, trust me, it takes a long time to get the right formation template, right Terraform, understand the basics, right Python script. So it's done really well. Now, one thing I would call out, the security practices in general, it's probably reliant on you to make the call. Like I had to specifically say, hey, I want a private EC2 instance. So if you are trying to build a Cloudformation template, or if you're trying to build an AWS resource, which is supposed to have security best practices, you should definitely try and watch out for using the right prompts, so making it more secure. The other thing I would call out is if you're using AWS CLI commands, you may also find that some of the changes that have happened in AWS since 2021 would not be here. So some of your CLI commands may not work, some of your CloudFormation templates may be obsolete, or some of your code that you're finding on the ChatGPT, they may just not be functional anymore because they completely changed the language. Like example being of Kubernetes stopping support for Docker. I don't think that would work over here. Now you can find most of your answers over here in ChatGPT, and at the moment it's a free account. Anyone can log in and start using it. It is definitely worth a shot to go down the path of using it for your advantage and speeding up. But I would still say trust but verify. Get the information, see if it works, and make sure you are happy that the information provided is scalable. It's also something that is secure and is following the best practice as well. I hope you got value from this and were able to upskill yourself in how you can use ChatGPT to get that much closer to becoming a better cloud engineer or a cloud security engineer. If you enjoy content like this, we create cloud security content all day, every day on this Cloud Security Podcast socials channel on YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter. You'll find us wherever. If you like this, definitely give us a like button and hit the subscribe button so you get notified when the next cloud security video comes out. If you have any comments on how else you have used ChatGPT, I would love to hear them. Just definitely put them in the comment as well. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video. Peace.